Good evening, everybody. I'm Ranga, Vadlamudi. I'm a data solution architect at Azure, Microsoft. So what I'll do today is I'll talk about Microsoft Cognitive Services and also probably do a couple of demos. I'll show a video of how it's used and also a couple of demos of what you can do quickly with Cognitive Services. So, in general, right, we are seeing a lot of intelligence which is happening around the world with computers. And what Satya is our CEO, what he thinks is more than gaming with cognitive services, you could basically change lives. Right? Change. Sorry. I need cognitive services. So basically, what he wants to do is fix diseases and add intelligence to be able to remove poverty, etc., etc. So he has a broader vision on how these cognitive services are being used, and basically what he's trying to do is democratize, right? Make it available for everybody rather than just available for a few enterprises. So what we did was, I think Kyle talked about, he basically showed a couple of pictures and how the age was recognized. So what we did was, we basically released a Howl bot. It was an app created by maybe 2 people, deployed on Azure, and we were surprised to see that basically what it does is it shows you the age by the picture, and there was a lot of problems. Basically, people who were younger were shown older if they were wearing glasses, if they had a beard. Ellen was very happy to see that she was shown in the 20s, right? So what we did was basically we learned from it. We learned from, as the users came in, we got 50 million users for the app in 7 days. If you look at Angry Birds, it took 35 days to get 50 million users. For us, it just took 7 days. People loved it, and they came from everywhere. And how were we able to support that app? Because we were on the cloud and we were able to scale as the users came in, and they came in from everywhere. And Azure is everywhere. You can spin up VMs across the globe. And so what we learned from it is basically we learned that our algorithm was not correct all the time. And as the feedback came in, we learned from it and improved the app. And a lot of these services, cognitive services I'm going to talk about, it's the same thing. As the data is coming in, we are learning and making it better and better. And Kyle talked about OpenCV. I've used OpenCV. It's a fantastic framework. But it takes time. It takes time to create applications. And what cognitive services brings is it brings the speed to market. You can use the APIs, the REST APIs, which the intelligence is built by Microsoft and supported by Microsoft and Azure. And all you have to do is call those APIs based on your need and deploy your applications. So what this means, right? What does AI mean? A lot of people talk about AI, a lot of people talk about machine learning. If you look at the timeline here, 80s had PCs and desktops, 90s had the internet, and then the 2000, the mobile, right? And most of us have probably created apps on websites, created mobile apps, and now comes the conversations, right? Basically the bots. And Microsoft created a bot framework which you can use to basically, it's an engine where you can use the cognitive services and use the bot as an engine to basically create your applications. So what does that mean? Most of the time you see on the phones, at least my age, they're probably texting and typing away. Whereas my son, initially I was thinking he was talking to me. Either he's talking to Cortana or Siri most of the time. He's asking questions, right? So then he comes to me now and says, hey, I have to ask you 3 times before you answer. And I tell him, you and your bots created the problem. I always think you're talking to a bot than me. So it's amazing how far we have come, right? Especially, I think bots are going to change the world as far as how we interact, how we fix problems, how we fix business problems, etc. And what cognitive services does, Microsoft Cognitive Services, gives you the ability, once you have an idea, to take it to or deploy it very quickly. I was just thinking, sitting there, a lot of people came here, probably spent money for admission into this room, and also maybe walked a couple of miles from the parking lot, right? So, what does it mean for you to come here? And a lot of people, a lot of students are here, and the upside for you guys is the most, I think, to use these cognitive services. There are many possibilities I see. I've tried to build startups, and a lot of times, most of my time to develop the application. Whereas, if I had these basically platforms, I probably would have deployed my applications faster. Especially for students, right? You can basically take these APIs and think about what can I do, what applications can I build, how can I sell these services for myself, right? So one possibility could be you could learn these APIs. There are like 23 APIs, and walk up to enterprises and basically help them build solutions as a services company. I know a company in Austin. They built a company out of the dorm in University of Texas, Austin, 4 of them, I think. And how did they build that company? They are, I think, almost valued at $1 billion now. The reason is iOS. They started programming in iOS, and they had 3 months of experience, and everybody else in the world had 3 months of experience. So basically, age is no barrier for it, right? Similarly, a lot of these AI applications, etc., or APIs, I've talked about other platforms like Google and IBM, etc. So what this gives you is the ability to learn these APIs and be able to publish applications as quickly as you can and go to market. So what does this mean, right? Basically, Microsoft gives you out all these cognitive services, which I'll talk about, and then we provide a bot framework and an Azure bot service. So what you do is you basically use cognitive services, which are available. Then bot framework is an engine for you to be able to deliver those as far as making your application intelligent, and then Azure bot service is an engine to deliver to the masses. So these are the 3 steps you do. All you do is come up with an idea, go map it to an API, create a bot, and then deploy it on Azure. So why cognitive services, right? It's pretty easy. If anybody knows how to create REST APIs, you can start right now. Most of the APIs, I think up to a certain number, I think some of them are like 5,000 hits to the API, some of them are 10,000. Get an Azure login and create call a REST API and start creating your applications. It's as easy as that. And pretty much there are SDKs in different languages like Python and Node, .NET, etc. And also examples on GitHub and basically all the other popular websites. So what it means for you, very easy to start, very lightweight, and very easy to deploy. So these are the cognitive services which are available. Like if you take vision, right? One of the things was the picture which Kyle showed. Basically, you upload a picture, it shows you your age, or you upload a picture, it identifies where the faces are on the picture. It gives you a coordinate for the faces, etc., so you can start mining, right? Then video. I've played with OpenCV a lot, and a lot of times you can go frame by frame and apply different things to the per frame. Whereas our video application, for example, you start walking and taking a video, and then you apply cognitive services, it will actually clean up your video so that it's not shaking, it'll be much smoother, things like that. So those are the some of the features which you can use for picture and video. Speech, most of the time people talk over each other, etc., Microsoft, as of today, has the best speech recognition algorithm in the world. So it's almost as equivalent to a human talking and recognizing another human. So you could use some of those APIs. You can basically start feeding speech into these algorithms and train it. So for example, if somebody's running like a older older home, right? They can start feeding these speech audio files of the older people and train the model so that next time when they speak and you build an application, you can understand them better than a normal human is speaking. Similarly, you can also add intelligence like intent. Like for example, my son comes to me and says, hey, I sent an angry emoji and Abby started LOL and RFOL, and he comes with his own language, right, which I don't understand. The terms I use I understand, but he comes up with some of the things I don't. So what you can do is you can start training your models in such a way that you understand the intent. And as you go from business to business, right, in a business applications, you pretty much can feed what it means for your business. What are the terms? What is the language? What is the speech? In a factory, for example, it could be loud, and somebody speaking a normal human cannot understand. You can feed those into these algorithms, and the algorithm will learn. And next time somebody's speaking in a factory, an algorithm can interpret it better than like a human. So speech is one amazing, I think, algorithm which you can look at and see what you can do for your applications. Then language, right? Language, you can do text processing, speech to text, text to speech, add intent to understand better of what is happening. And then knowledge. Knowledge is one thing at the universities. You can pretty much, we have something called a Microsoft Academic Graph. Basically, we built it over the years, right? It understands the different documents which were feeded or the different articles. And once you start searching for it, right, it understands what your intent is of your search, and it will get you better articles which you're trying to read, etc. So overall, what you're trying to do here is basically you're taking the APIs, you're taking what we have learned over the years, like Bing, for example. Bing search for the last 10 years, we have learned a lot. We have learned a lot of what the users are trying to do, etc., and we have a feature called Bing Predicts. So basically right now, if you go to the website Bing Predicts, it predicts sports events, it predicts elections. We didn't do a good job with the recent, but because of the sentiment, right? It's trying to learn from the sentiment, etc. So the Bing Predicts service right now can be used for businesses to be able to predict what is the future, what is happening, look into the future, right, of their products or their industry, etc. And then the search is you basically, like any other search, you can add it to your applications of web searches, image searches, videos, etc. So here is an example of where Cortana was, or sorry, cognitive services was used, right? Uber is using it to be able to recognize the driver. So there's a story out there, I'll share this deck. If you read the story, right, they built this in 3 weeks and deployed it. So it was that easy for them. Use the photo recognition API and then scale it to the masses. Basically deploy it, and it's a service where we manage the scaling part. So all you need to do is call it. If you call 10,000 times versus 10 million times, it's up to us to give you that SLA of 99.99 or whatever, to say that we will make your service available all the time. And Azure helps us with that. So if you go deeper into what these services are, right, there are, I think, about 23 of them. So if you look at vision, you could basically go and look at emotion. You can upload a picture. Under emotion, there are APIs on the website. If you just go search for Microsoft Cognitive Services, each API has a website, and they have examples. So for example, if you go upload your picture on emotion, right, it'll tell you whether you're angry, you're sad, you're happy, etc., etc. You upload a picture of 4 people, it'll recognize each one of them, and basically, and how did this happen, right? Pretty much, it's understanding the picture itself and then adding the algorithms to be able to understand emotion. So let's say if you take a problem like this and solve by yourself, what does it take, right? First of all, you have to come up with the algorithm, and then you need data, lots of data, and to be able to get to the quality of your solution. So that's where I think Microsoft APIs will really help, is the quality, because they have done it over and over and over and learned from it and fed it back into the algorithm so that the algorithm can learn it and give you better results. Again, I talked about speech, the custom recognition. It's called Chris. It's really awesome. I really like it as far as, especially businesses, if you're able to customize to your own business, right, of understanding hospitals or even like factories, etc., where speech can be a problem as far as the noise levels, etc., etc. So you customize the algorithms in such a way that it recognizes you. So if you go to the website, right, basically there are some APIs where you can start talking into it. So the more you talk into it, it recognizes you, and then it gives you a score of how much it knows about you. So these APIs are really helpful on how fast you can learn them and deploy them into your applications. So Cortana Intelligence Suite is on Azure. Basically what it means is to be able to deploy your solutions, cognitive services and broad framework, we give you the rest around it. So for example, you have a lot of data coming in to be able to feed it into your cognitive services, right, so that you can learn more. So we have pretty much a complete suite of a data lake store. A data lake store on Azure is like a hyperscale store where there are no limits. You can store as many files as you want, or as much file sizes as you want. You can go up to a petabyte file size and store it in a data lake store and mine it. And data lake analytics is like a on-request Hadoop, where you say, I need 60 nodes of a Hadoop cluster to do some mining, and then I shut it off, right? So all you do is submit your query, tell it how much compute it needs, and then once it's done, it shuts it off. So all you pay is for the job of compute. So this went GA summer of 2016, and we are seeing a lot of traction of people using this because of the no limits on any of that, on the compute, on the storage, etc. And another thing what Microsoft has done is all their products on Azure, like Hadoop, Data Lake Analytics, SQL Server, SQL Database Warehouse. Basically, it's a warehouse on Azure. We have separated compute and storage. So what it means is you bring your storage, and when you need compute, you fire up the compute. Like for example, for a data warehouse, you can say, hey, by the way, I need to run a monthly job, right? It's just a slider. You increase your compute. Once it's done, you put it, bring it back. So once your monthly job is done. So at this point, all you're paying is when your compute is up there to be able to complete your compute. And then when you slide it back, you only pay for how much ever it's up and running. So what we are seeing is this paradigm is really attracting not only startups, right? Business customers, etc., especially for anybody, students who are starting to think of startups, etc. We have different programs like startup programs where you can come talk to me. I'll probably give you some ideas on how you can get better services on Azure to be able to use cognitive services and come up with applications much cheaper and go to market. So Satya talked about in the second slide about democratizing AI and what it means to him on helping humanity, right? So he listed last year his top 10 influential things he thinks happened for him. And this is the one story which he talked about. How many of you have watched this video? Okay. I see one hand. So I'll probably play this just so it's a 2-minute video. The person you're seeing is a blind person who works for Microsoft. He's a Microsoft .NET developer. And let's watch how his life has changed with cognitive services.
and then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do. But artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate. And I'm really excited to see where we can take this. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me, it's about taking that far-off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
So, I think it's inspiring, and it's open for everybody to come up with ideas, right? I heard a story recently from somebody. They're working on, in India, a lot of women in villages, they walk a few miles to get a pot of water. So people are working on reducing their walk to less than a mile. So those are some of the examples, right? Basically, and it's possible with cognitive services. You don't have to spend years to come up with something like this. It's available, all you have to come up with ideas and then start deploying on Azure. So what I'll do is, I'll show you a couple of examples, like demos, right? Basically, this is my Skype, and if you go to the bot framework on Azure, on Microsoft, you can basically go to the directory like a marketplace and basically bring bots into your Skype. So we have bots which work on Skype, Slack, Facebook Messenger, etc., etc. So I brought a few down here, and what this mean, right? Like you can basically add a bot into your conversation. So, for example, here I'll start with this. So one thing, disclaimer is, a lot of these bots are created by third parties, right? Microsoft has an Azure bot, which basically you can log in through Skype and be able to start up VMs, shut down VMs, etc., etc. Whereas a lot of these, like StubHub created a bot to be able to buy tickets. Foursquare has a bot to be able. So what does this mean, right? So let's start with this. Your face bot. So I'll throw a disclaimer here: is this guy can be brutal on what text he prints. So just want to make sure that if you see something, it's not on me. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually brought in a bot into my conversation, and then here you can go and add people if you have anybody like your friend, etc., and bring them into the conversation. So it's almost like you, your friend, and a bot are conversing, right? So here I try to, it's a your face bot, so I try to just see what it does. So I uploaded some pictures, and every time it's complaining that basically, hey, send me a face, I don't like anything else, right? So for example, I say hello. So it doesn't, all it likes is a face, basically. So let me do this, right? I'll send a face of McEnroe, an angry McEnroe. So it knows that it's McEnroe, right? And then it says you're a 33-year-old and a look of astonishment, which McEnroe always does that, right? So then let me send another picture of him. Recently, I think he plays in the senior circuit. So what I did was I was playing with this yesterday. I was thinking, it's predicting age, right? So I thought, let me upload Obama in 2008 versus 2016. So it showed like a Obama. I'm not showing you here because what I learned is this bot is anti-political. So when I uploaded Obama, I thought it was in the right. But then when I uploaded politicians on the right, it was. Then I realized it didn't like politicians. So when Obama in 2008, it said, "Hey, you're in the 30s," and then Obama in 2016, it said you're in the 50s. So he almost aged up 25 years in 8 years, right? So this is an example of how you can. So we created a bot, then we delivered it through Skype, and it's calling cognitive services behind the scenes. So that's how easy you can deliver applications using the cognitive services. I'll just do one more. You can tell I'm a sports fan, so this is Romo, right? So it says your Romo about 35.8. This is a recent picture, right? And it says you've got a mustache that needs more effort. So it can be funny. It's a pretty cool bot. So the next thing what I did was I went to the StubHub and I was looking for events in Dallas. So it brought me events in Dallas, and then you can look at, hey, how can I find tickets? What are my options? Other options, etc., etc. So what you can see here is you're basically building applications which can be useful to users. So if you create a bot, it can be Skype, Slack, Messenger, etc., etc. You can bring it into your conversation and then start interacting with it, so it can help. So, for example, like this one, right? Skyscanner. I was looking to travel to New York City on vacation, so it would tell you all your options. And what you can do is you can bring in another person, your partner, etc., and start conversing three-way, right? To decide on when you want to travel. Maybe you'll never travel if you bring in your partner, but because you can't decide on which place, etc., etc. But what this shows is it's a cool experience, and it brings in intelligence automatically rather than going into a search. So there's a big shift, right? There's a shift between searching on the internet, searching on mobile, adding a bot into your conversation. So that's where the intelligence, and what Microsoft brings is the years of experience. They learned a lot from Xbox. So Xbox, it's owned by Microsoft, right? So all these algorithms were built, most of them for Xbox, Bing, etc., where they wanted to predict errors happening. They wanted to predict how they can fix Xbox issues better and faster and release the software. So I think I'll end with this. So if you go look at some of these websites, right? Like you can go search for cognitive services, and pretty much there's example code for SDKs if you want to automate, or you just call REST APIs. You can use Postman or any of those plugins if you have used before to be able to start testing these applications. That's all I have. Any questions? Sure.
So if I'm using Microsoft services and the bots, and I'm giving it some data to run the service, who owns the data?
So as far as where the data is lying, right, it's always you. Even if, let's say we give you a key and say you can encrypt your data with your key. Even if government comes to us, the key is with you. So we always send them to you because you own the data. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.